Since we're talking about what's been going on with the elections and everything, and we're talking about power, I think that what we're discussing today is perfect in terms of us really understanding the context of what's happening in America politically. And I'm going to open up Powernomics, and you can get a copy if you don't have one at powernomics.com. Don't forget, Christmas is coming. If you have extra money, if you are a person that has the means to do it, one of the things that me and my wife like to do, I actually talked to Mrs. Anderson and told her I was going to buy at least another 500 copies of Powernomics. You don't have to buy that many. I'm not saying buy that many, but we like to just give them away. We like to just have Powernomics books and Black Labor, White Wealth and the Black History Reader, all Dr. Anderson's books, and just give them away to kids and stuff like that. So if you have some extra income and you want to support the cause, buy a bunch of books. Just go to powernomics.com, order some, put them on your coffee table when people come by, hand them out. Hand them out the same way a Jehovah's Witness might hand out Bibles or something, right? And somebody asked about the A, B, and C. The convention is likely going to be in Atlanta. I think for this week, you can actually get next year's passes for half off. We even have a family pass. Feel free to go to allblacknationalconvention.com and you can take a look. Okay, so Dr. Anderson is talking about education, and he mentions one educational reform is the use of technology. And on page 109 of Powernomics, he says that technological development, computer advances, the internet, high-speed data connections has rapidly changed the way we conduct most life activities. It is important that our children are exposed to and learn how to use the developing forms of technology so that they will have marketable business and employment opportunities in life. It will be the role of Powernomics-based schools, however, to frame technology in the most appropriate way for our goals as a tool that increases efficiency and information. They will be trained in using computerized technology in processing and research, business and product management, communicating and marketing services and goods, and most importantly, in the creation of new technology. It will be the technology that evolves from our vertical industries that provides wealth creation opportunities for Black America. Let me tell you this. If you want your kids to be rich, how many of y'all want your kids to be rich one day? Give me a yes in the chat if you want your descendants to be in a strong financial situation. I'm about to give you a secret. I'm about to give you $1 trillion worth of game in about like 10 seconds. I kid you not. I'm speaking as a professor now with a guy. I have a real PhD. You can go read my dissertation on the internet. I didn't go to an online school. I didn't get it over the weekend. I spent several years studying finance at the highest levels, how wealthy people make their money, how the American economic system works at the deepest levels. I know this stuff like the back of my hand. If you want your kids and your descendants to be wealthy, encourage them to understand two things. Two things. Technology and entrepreneurship. Technology and entrepreneurship. They have to do both because if they understand technology but they don't know anything about starting business development and starting a business, what's going to happen is your child is going to be an engineer at IBM making a couple $100,000 a year, maybe if they're lucky, maybe 100,000, 150,000, and that's the most that they'll ever be able to do. But if they blend entrepreneurship with technology, then they've got the business skills to develop the economic infrastructure to make money. And technology gives them that ability to scale and automate their ability to make money. They can create entities that are 100% owned by themselves that allow them to become millionaires at an early age. I went to Techstars. My brother works in Tulsa with venture capitalists. And with Techstars, there are these young Black people. They're not just all Black, though, in Techstars, but they're all these techies. And many of them have companies that are expected to have valuations of over $1 billion in a few years. These are 31, 29-year-old kids. So many of them are Black. In Tulsa, Trey, I can't remember Trey's last name. Trey's from Harvard. I should know Trey's last name. But Trey runs a team at Techstars of young Black people, and they're all fans of the Black Business School. When I walked in, at least 80% of these guys knew who I was. So I was really excited to talk to them. They were excited to talk to me. And the reason I was so impressed with them is because they were able to apply their technology, computer programming skills to build these companies that are expected to be billion-dollar unicorns or close to it, at least worth $100 million. And so examples would be like Elon Musk. All Elon Musk is worth, what, a couple $100 billion. All Elon Musk is a techie nerd who learned how to start a business. That's all he is. You know, all Jeff Bezos is worth about $200 billion. All Jeff Bezos is, if you look at his whole background, I read his entire bio going all the way back to kindergarten. All Jeff Bezos is a techie nerd who knows how to start a business. Bezos easily could have went to Wall Street and made, you know, maybe $300,000-$400,000 a year, doing advanced computer programs for the financial industry. He could have easily gone on to become an engineer, maybe an aerospace engineer, and made $200,000 or $300,000 doing that. But no, instead he left that $250,000 a year job, and he went and he started Amazon to the point where he was making probably about $250,000 every 10 minutes. Okay, $100 million a day during the pandemic. It's some ridiculous amount of money they were making. So if your kids understand technology and entrepreneurship, they get to level up. We have a lot of young people that, if you think about it, pay attention. I want you to watch how many of our young kids, if they're smart, if they like, these are our best and brightest, making the best grades, going to go on and do great things. Typically, in order to impress their parents and impress everybody, they'll usually pick like one of three different majors. They'll either be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer, right? Now, there are other professions too, but those tend to be the kind of big three. And the thing about it is that if you look at the amount of work necessary to do any of those three things, why not also learn how to start your own business so that you won't just create wealth for yourself. You'll understand things like scaling and delegation that allow you to create wealth for dozens, if not thousands and thousands of people. Elon Musk doesn't just make himself wealthy. He employs hundreds of thousands of people. And between Twitter and SpaceX and Tesla and all that, Jeff Bezos doesn't just make himself rich. He has 1.1 million employees, almost all of whom are making six figures. So this is what is required for the Black community to prosper. I do not need every single Black person in America to listen to me. I'm not trying to find a way to communicate with every Black person who thinks that this is stupid. I don't care about that. I wish them the best. I just need the smart ones to step up and scale. I need you to understand that that one job doesn't do a whole lot in terms of moving the community forward. It's the ability to create jobs that makes the difference. Okay, so when Dr. Anderson talks about technology, the kids have to be on top of the technology. Also, technology has to be used for a productive purpose. Whenever people ask me about, like, sometimes people will do YouTube videos about me, good and bad. Sometimes they're like, I think Boyce is a jerk, and I can't stand him, whatever. And they say, well, did you see that video? I'm like, no, I didn't see it. I don't watch. I've seen videos with my name on it that have gotten 250,000 views, and I had no interest in watching even 3 seconds of the video. I just say, oh, look at that, and I go on about my business. I use YouTube and the internet for the following things. I will use it for to learn a skill. Like if I'm trying to learn how to do something, I will look it up how to fly an airplane. I'm getting my pilot's license. I told you guys that. I'm literally like in that process, right? How to fly an airplane. So I look up a skill. I'm looking up financial information. I'm always listening and taking in financial information all day long, every day. And then when I want to relax, I like to watch the football games because I'm a football fan. That's literally it. After that, I check out. The gossip and the silly stuff. Anybody got time for that? Not productive people. So teach your kids how to use the best university in the history of the world, which is the internet. The internet is an amazing place to learn. I'm confirming this as a college professor. I can tell you that there's no university ever made in the history of the world that can match what you can get online. All right, so let me keep going. He says he says that the traditional relationship between Black people and technology has to change. Technology and Black people have long held an adversarial relationship. Racism has historically kept us shackled until technology arrived and rendered us obsolete. The benefits that and by the way, thousands of jobs that exist today are going to disappear because we don't know the technology. Don't let people trick you into just being a manual laborer. You'll be in big trouble. The benefits that can spring from our economic empowerment can allow us to change the historical equation. We may never own any of the Silicon Valley industrial complexes. In fact, a number of Black organizations have pending employment lawsuits against high-tech Silicon Valley firms. We have to learn to be realistic. This nation has anti-discrimination laws, but racial competitiveness guarantees that whites will break these laws to place income and wealth building opportunities with whites rather than blacks. And you see with Kyrie Irving and all that, it doesn't matter if you're a high-paid black person, you still are an employee. The NBA and the NFL, because nobody taught many of these guys how to actually own entities and build businesses. Many of them are employee-minded people. They unfortunately, and I'm not saying it to be mean, but many of them, economically speaking, are like 7-foot midgets. They're 7-foot tall economic midgets. Imagine a guy that's 7 feet tall, who literally thinks that he's like a dwarf. And so he acts like a dwarf, and he's kind of crawling under tables and all that. And it looks real weird because he's so tall, but he doesn't realize how tall he is. Or like when you look at anorexia, when you have a person that's super thin and they think that they're fat. A lot of these guys, with all the wealth that they have, don't understand when you have a contract that pays you $15-20 million a year. You are a walking corporation. You have in your pocket more income than probably 99% of all the black-owned businesses in this country. But your mind ain't right. Your mind is gone. Do you understand how frustrating it is for me as a man who understands the depths of finance and capitalism and wealth opportunities and how to grow wealth? Do you know how frustrated I get when I talked to a rapper one time who literally made like $50 million a year before, and I looked at what he was wasting his money on, and I wanted to slap him and say, "You big dummy! You could literally transform the whole black community, but your mind is just gone." You literally are thinking it's like a little baby with a big bulldozer, just knocking buildings over and stuff like that. When that bulldozer could be used to build something, they're just kind of running around like little kids. So ultimately, this is what you're getting. If you and so to scale it down, when you have hardworking black college graduates who have the right mindset, but all they know how to do is kind of chase a job. They're always missing the big picture. They're missing the big opportunity. So thinking big is really important. Technology should be a part of that. Leadership skill should be a part of that. The ability to cooperate with others should be a part of that. You got to kill, hip hop. One thing I hate about hip hop culture also is it teaches narcissism. It teaches people to talk about how great they are. If you listen to a lot of these songs, all the rapper does is rap about how great he is and how he's better than everybody else. So that isolates you from your community. That isolates you from other people. So you're not really displaying good leadership skill. You're not making other people better. You're positioning yourself as some kind of a god. And I hate that. It burns me up because it doesn't embrace the collaborative leadership where you approach with some degree of humility the opportunity to partner with other like-minded black people to do something great. Jewish people do that. Y'all can get mad all day at what the Jewish community is doing to Kyrie Irving, and I was mad about it too. I thought it was a bunch of BS. I didn't like what they did to Kanye. I thought that was BS. But at the same time, look up their wealth building principles. I put this video on my Instagram. One of their core principles is community. Community, community, community. If you start a business, I will pay extra to support your business, even if the product is overpriced. You start a business, I will cheer you on. I will support you. You ain't going at it alone. You're going at it with a whole community of people clapping for you, wanting you to succeed. They are buying your product. Even if your product ain't that great, we'll still support your product, and we're not going to tear you down. We're going to lift you up and elevate you and make sure you succeed. That reminds me of like a football team where if you're a football fan, and maybe I'm just thinking weird football analogies, but sometimes the guy's running the ball and then the guys will try to tackle him, and then his blockers, the offensive lineman, will come along and just kind of carry him to another 3 or 4 yards, right? And that's kind of what a strong community does. It sucks to try to play football when you're being tackled by your own damn teammates. Your own teammate, you're the quarterback, and the damn lineman that's supposed to be protecting you comes and sacks you. Like, what the hell is that? But that's literally the difference. So again, get mad at the Jewish community all you want to. We can debate all day about who the original Jews are. I know that whole narrative, and I actually think that we are the original Jews. I don't have any issue with that. But at the same time, putting all that aside, you got to learn a different economic culture. If you don't learn a different economic culture, you're not going to have different economic outcomes. So let me keep going. It is difficult for Black Americans to compete after the fact on the tail end of technology. As indicated in Chapter 6, once Black America begins to build its own vertical industries, it will need bright young minds to generate new technology within the captured industries. When we are in control of our own industries, we can produce new technology that produces employment and wealth building opportunities. Until then, technology will continue to produce power and wealth for those who own and control it. This is Powernomics, page 110. Powernomics.com is where you can get Dr. Anderson's books. Education reform number 7, a new role for Black colleges. Now we must reclaim identity and governance of historically Black colleges and restore their original roles. Black colleges were not built to educate, quote, all children of all the people. They came into existence to educate Black people, to equip them to be a competitive group. Since Black people are far from being economically, politically, and educationally competitive, Black colleges have not fulfilled their mission. From emancipation until the Black Civil Rights Movement, ex-Black slaves sold wood, flowers, pies, and ice on the streets to generate enough money to acquire land, buildings, equipment, and materials to sustain a network of Black colleges. Black colleges were commissioned to take uneducated Blacks and teach them to be doctors, nurses, teachers, and other professionals. We must reclaim our Black colleges and return them to their former glory and mission. By the way, the Black Business School is a Black college. One of Black America's greatest educational setbacks has been the erosion of its historically Black colleges following the Black Civil Rights Movement of the 1960s. Since integration, Black colleges have been forced more into the mainstream and severely hampered in meeting the educational needs of this nation's Black communities. A study conducted by Walter Allen validated this conclusion. Allen, in his study of gender and campus race differences in Black students' academic performance, racial attitudes, and college satisfaction, compared Black students at predominantly Black universities with those at predominantly white universities. He concluded that Black schools do a better job in educating Black undergraduates than white universities and provide a more nurturing environment to instill skills, self-confidence, leadership opportunities, and a competitive spirit that Black students do not receive at white universities. That is true. Did anybody see this week where at the University of Kentucky there was a drunk white girl that kind of started attacking a Black girl? Did y'all see that? Where she was calling her, the N word and the B word and all that, and the little white girl was drunk and she was just swinging at her and all that, and it kind of went viral. And well, that kind of affected me, and the reason it affected me is because I went to that same university years ago. I had the same job that the Black girl had, and I in the same dorm that she worked. She was in Boyd Hall. I worked the desk in Boyd Hall years ago when I was in college. So I was like, whoa, this is like deja vu. And also, we experienced the same incidents back then. When I was a resident advisor, which means I was kind of running my floor, somebody tore down, I put up all these instructions for everybody on my floor. Somebody tore down and put the N word like in big letters on that floor or on the bulletin board. And then another incident was a Black girl had I used to write articles in the campus paper. I used to get everybody all fired up and stuff like that. And there was a Black girl who wrote a letter in favor of me, like kind of supporting me. And somebody saw the letter and they followed her to class and put a knife to her throat. This is on the University of Kentucky campus. This happened 25 years ago. And I remember we fought like hell. We did exactly what the students are doing right now. We had protests and vigils, and all of our white allies joined us, and they were good people, and it was a big thing. A lot of hell was raised at the time, and we negotiated with the university on some diversity goals and said, you got to hire some Black professors, you got to change the curriculum and all that. And what I didn't realize at the time was that we basically kind of got played. We kind of got played because they put a Band-Aid over a deep, 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 deep wound. They kind of sort of superficially addressed the issue just to kind of get us out of the way so that we would graduate and everyone would kind of forget what happened. So here we are 25 years later, and the same kind of thing is still happening because, there's not diversity in the faculty like they promised. It's very hard for many qualified Black scholars to get a job at a school like that. And then also the curriculum is very whitewashed. It's very Eurocentric in design. They will never invite Dr. Claude Anderson to speak at the University of Kentucky because they don't want radical-minded Black people on that campus, right? So ultimately, it is fine, right? I'm not even mad about it. But what I'm saying in general is that these institutions will dupe you and fail you. In order for black people to really get real power, you're going to have to jump outside the box. You're going to have to move away from a lot of these institutional frameworks because they were designed to kind of keep you in your place. Even a lot of HBCUs, as hard as they try, aren't really able to break the mold of white power and a black lack of power. They can't really break the mold. They can kind of fit in. They can send black people to go, become black faces in high places. They can go work for major corporations and all that. And I think that's fine if that's what people want to do. But what I really want you to understand is I remember when I first met Dr. Claude Anderson in 2006. It was in Louisville, Kentucky. He did something for many, many years called the Black Family Conference there, which actually I'm going to look into see if we can bring that back because I think that's something that's worth pursuing. So at the Black Family Conference, and I was a speaker, he was a speaker, and I got a chance to meet him. And I remember him telling me something I never forgot. He said that that a black scholar, that a black thinker needs to be radical in order to make a difference. He said, you want to be radical. Right? A lot of times we're afraid to be radical. We don't want to be too different. We don't want to, ruffle too many feathers. But he was the first person to say, no, you want to be radical. Because if you're not radical, then you're not going to be able to modify a deeply entrenched system. You have to push yourself at every turn to think outside that box. So HBCUs, unfortunately, because they don't have a lot of economic strength and economic independence, are kind of stuck in this holding pattern where they produce a lot of, unfortunately, very, very smart graduates who end up becoming mediocre contributors to the black struggle. They're not really ready in terms of the skill and the courage and the preparation to really take on white supremacy. That's kind of an economic war that a lot of people just can't fight. And so where a guy like, say, a Kanye West on a good day was kind of headed in a good direction to some extent, is that he was just so free in terms of what he said and what he did. He didn't care what anybody thought. I kind of like some of that. That's the thing he and I have in common. But at the same time, we're not exactly the same because hip hop, unfortunately, has a lot of cultural baggage that can weigh you down, a lot of distractions that I think have harmed his ability to really maximize what he does. But if you take the good piece, if you cut off the little good piece, then I think a lot of that really does work. You have to get people's attention. You have to be ready to develop institutions that are completely independent. You have to be willing to do the work to build your own. You have to have the courage to stand up to the fact that people aren't going to like you while you're doing it. They're going to say a lot of things about you. So you have to really know who you are and what you actually want. And then you have to make a plan. A long-term plan is really critical if you want to have economic power. So what I want to encourage you to do is not worry so much about what you have. I need you to start thinking about your kids. And your kids you have 25 years to prepare for the battle, right? It's the year is 2022 right now. I need you to stop thinking about 2022. Stop worrying about 2022. Start thinking about 2047. Nobody lives there yet. Nobody's there yet. You can go. That is free land. That is free. Just like when they went out west and they gave them all that free land and people did homesteads and all that. Well, the 2047 is free land because 99% of the population living today is not thinking about the year 2047. So if you get there psychologically first, then you literally can do like a homestead. You can claim whatever you want to claim. And what does that mean? Well, that means that if I've got a child and I want to win this battle, and I want to win this war, and I can think outside of my own self, I can say, okay, I want to make sure that I make investments right now in terms of money, time, and training to make sure that when 2047 gets here, my child is ready to fight the battle. They've got resources because I've been doing things like the $5 a day investing plan, which you can get for free. Just go to boycewatkins.com. So your child has $250,000 in the bank in assets, which allows them to fight economic battles. They can at least defend themselves. They're not going to run around scared to death or whatever because somebody called them the N-word or told them that they or disrespected them on their job. They can do whatever they want. But then also they're trained in terms of risk management. They understand who to take money from and who not to take money from, who to do business with and who not to do business with. A lot of times we'll do business with anybody that has money. And unfortunately, a lot of that money is not good money. A lot of rappers, for example, they'll make all these deals where they're selling liquor and cigarettes and just all this crap to black people, and we cheer it on. We're like, oh, that's black excellence, y'all. That's black excellence. And I'm like, who wants more alcoholics in the black community? Like, don't we have enough alcoholics in our families that are ruining everything, like ruining Thanksgiving and, molesting the kids and not showing up to pick their kids up at school. Like, I don't want more alcoholics in the Black community. Why don't we kind of think about different business models that can be created, that can be profitable, but will actually not kill Black people, that will actually make Black people better. So let me keep going. Let me keep reading here. So in terms of Black colleges, Dr. Anderson says, as society integrated, state boards of regents and other oversight agencies moves to close down Black colleges or merge them with white colleges. Black colleges found themselves in a dilemma. They were instructed to justify their continued existence by converting their educational curriculums and supported programs to be similar to offerings by white colleges. Once they changed their mission and converted their programs into miniature white colleges, the power structure then argued that they ought to be closed or merged with white colleges because states did not want the double expense of two colleges offering the same educational opportunities. So, Black HBCUs had two strategic errors. One, you never learn how to make your own damn money. You should be producing thousands of entrepreneurs every year because one of them's going to be, at least a few of them are going to be multimillionaires that can help you expand your economic base. You literally need like a ton of entrepreneurs out here that are, so that a few of them can go off and make millions of dollars so they can actually make massive donations to the school. Employees can't donate enough money for you to buy a new building or a new football stadium, but somebody who goes and founds $1 billion company, they can do that in their sleep. That's the first strategic error, that you're not producing, or you're not producing people that can actually make their own money. You're leaning on state resources. You're depending on white folks to pay your bills, but somehow think that that can allow you to be competitive with white folks. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't sort of be the offspring of someone and still think that you're equal. You're not equal. You are a spinoff. You're a subordinate. You're codependent. They're the pimp. You are the addict, or they're better yet, they're the pusher. You're the addict. They're the pimp. You're the hoe. You need them in order for you to exist. If they decide you don't exist, then you don't exist. It's like you're a cartoon character and they're the cartoonist. A cartoonist can kill off a character at any moment. You are in the movie, they are the writers of the movie. The writer of a movie can kill off any character that they want because they created the whole damn thing. You are their creation. That's what you are. So how in the world can you ever be equal to something or someone who has positioned themselves to basically be your God? They are your economic God, and you can't defeat a God. You can't. So that's the first thing. You're leaning on money from these folks, and you know they don't even want you around. They can make you disappear with a snap of a finger, like Thanos, which was one of the characters in the Avengers. He had this power where he could snap his fingers and make half the universe disappear. That's what they can do. They can snap their fingers and make you disappear because you ain't got no power. You snap your fingers, all we're going to hear is a snap. They're going to keep on clicking. They ain't even going to hear the snap because you can't snap your fingers and make them disappear, but they can snap their fingers and make you disappear. Now, who the hell you think going to have the most power? You really think you're equal? You really think you have equality when they can snap their fingers and make you disappear, but you can snap your fingers and they won't even know that you even existed. They don't care. They're not paying attention. They're just going on and just being white. That's the first mistake. You violated one of the rules of economic self-defense by allowing people who don't have your best interest at heart to pay all your bills and to fund you. So you are beggars. You are stuck in a position. You're not that you're not great educators, not that you're not intelligent people, not that you can't do amazing things, but you're stuck in a position where you're hat in hand, you're on one knee, begging them to give you what you need to survive. There's no power in that. You'll never have any power in that position. That's just a fact. That's just the truth. Number two, second mistake you made. You kill off your black girl magic, your black man magic. You killed off everything that made you unique because somebody convinced you that the best way for you to survive or to do better is to go imitate white universities. To me, HBCUs, and they're still special. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they're all terrible and all bad, but the fact that they decided to try to emulate the white institutions affected their very existence, because now it's like, well, why do we even need you? Now you're not unique and black and powerful. You're just a cheap substitute for a white man. Why do I want the substitute when I could just have the real thing? Why would I need a FAMU when I got Florida State right across the street? That's what they're thinking. That's what these educators are thinking. So if I'm FAMU and I want to survive, then I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that we're 100% unique. I'm not going to copy. I'm not going to copy other people. And also on top of that, just the idea of black people imitating white people just makes me cringe because we are so special. Everybody copies off us. We just got some secret sauce. I think it's the melanin or something. I don't know, but there's something special about us that if you tap into that with confidence, you can create something that other people can't even imitate or emulate. Even these women that get these implants and stuff, they're trying to look like black women. They're trying to get the lips and the booties of black women, and and these are things that God naturally gave you. So really, one thing I learned when my superpower was unleashed in 1999, and the reason my superpower was unleashed was because I made a very conscious decision, and my conscious decision was that um, as long as I try to be a cheap imitation of a white man, I'm never going to be anything other than second fiddle. That the best chance I had of success was to be the best version of myself because I have a monopoly on being Boyce Watkins. Nobody else can be Dr. Boyce Watkins except me. And so my goal every day is not to be what you are or to do what you're doing. My goal is to say, what does Boyce think he can do, and what is Boyce good at, and how do we just work the hell out of that? How do we optimize the Boyce Watkinsness of who I am? And that really does work. And it starts with self-love. You got to love yourself enough that when somebody says, well, you could do better if you copy this person or copy that person, or if you started acting like white people, or you fit in better. And then you say, why would I ever want to imitate anybody else? Why would I ever want to try to, copy off mediocre people anyway? Right. So self-love is a really important part of this. And integration, I don't think teaches self-love because integration kind of whitewashes everything. So you end up in this awkward position as a black person trying to absorb all these Eurocentric ideas and get white people to kind of accept you. And I just really think that's the wrong game to play. Now, let me ask you guys this. Can you guys hear me okay? Let me know if you can hear me okay. All right, because I want to make sure I'm coming through all right because I froze for a second on the screen. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Okay, good. All right, let me keep going. So he says, as society integrated, okay, we already talked about that. As required by the integration process, many black colleges merged into white colleges and disappeared. Never did a white college merge into a black college and disappear. So again, they snapped their finger and made you disappear, but you can't snap your finger and make them disappear. So stop talking about equality because ain't no way you're going to be equal when you start off as a subordinate. When you embrace your subordination, you'll never be equal to the person that you've committed yourself to being subordinate to. Batman or Robin can never be Batman as long as he knows he's second fiddle. Scottie Pippen can never be Michael Jordan. It's just not going to happen. So ultimately, you accepted that role. You came in as the second, as the second in command, if you will, or the secondary entity. So therefore, this idea of equality is a complete illusion that is fed to you in order to control your behavior. There's no such thing as equality when you have power that's up here and I have power that's down here. How in the hell are we considered equal? We're not equal. Kyrie Irving could explain that to you better because right now he's pretty much being blackballed from the NBA for doing something that didn't offend nearly any black people in this country. As required by the integration process, many black colleges merged into white colleges and disappeared. Within one generation after the integration process began, 7 historically black colleges have become all white, and it is projected by some that a similar number will change hands in the near future. When whites take control and convert the colleges over, they acquire ownership of the land, the buildings, the tangible assets, but they do not adopt the original mission to lift the black race. The nature of white or integrated colleges impedes their interest in accommodating the interests and unique needs of black students. Increasingly, black colleges are prohibited from focusing on racial matters. Black colleges, like their white counterparts, are allowing black students to become guests. Black colleges were once important and viable refuges for black students and black professors. Integration sounded a death knell for black colleges too. When black colleges were forced to become miniature white colleges, they lost justification for their continued existence. Of the black colleges that remain, the staffs are more than 50% non-black. Many black college professors abandoned black colleges to teach at white colleges. Their integration left a vacuum that was filled by whites and immigrants. Let me tell you about the time I went to interview for a job at Howard University. I'm not going to tell the story long because some of y'all might have actually heard it. I swear to God this happened, and I'm still baffled by all of this. So I'm on the faculty at Syracuse, and I was making about $115,000 a year. That was good money back then. It's still even good money now. But I wanted to teach at an HBCU really, really badly. I thought at that time that that was the way for me to connect with Black youth. And later on, I realized that that wasn't the best path for me. So I go to Howard University, and I interview in the finance department. I know that I was going to get a pay cut. I was ready for that. I know that it's more expensive to live in DC than Syracuse. I was ready for that too. So I get there, and I kid you not, the person interviewing me for the job was a goddamn man from China. I hate saying I'm sorry. Some of y'all got kids. I'm not going to cuss some more, I promise. But I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting here thinking, why in the hell do I got to impress this Chinese man to convince him that I'm qualified to teach Black people? Are you serious right now? Excuse my French. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, calm down, boys. This is how the world works. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm the one who's unrealistic. Now that I'm a little bit older, I look back at it and realize I wasn't the crazy one. The world is crazy. The world is crazy. I literally remember thinking, this is so stupid. There's no school. I taught in China, by the way. I've taught in China. Not one time have I ever seen a Chinese university where there's a Black man sitting there deciding if a Chinese man is qualified to teach Chinese kids. That never. You can't find it. I give anybody in here, I'll give you $1,000 if you go find one Chinese institution anywhere on earth where a Black man is the guardian, is the gatekeeper to decide if you get a chance to teach at that Chinese school. It doesn't happen. Why? Because regular, normal people don't do stupid stuff like that. So here's the deal. You can't don't you ever even dream about things like equality or freedom. You don't even know what freedom looks like. Like, seriously, the idea that you can even make that make sense tells me you are on another planet. You about 3 miles past the land of freedom. Like, you're nowhere near the land of the free and the home of the brave. Like, there's nothing about that reality that even reeks of freedom when there's no other group I can think of on the planet that operates in that same way. You operate like a damn slave. That's what it is. You're used to that. You're so comfortable being a complete slave that stupid stuff like that happens, and you're not even allowing your brain to even logically process just how crazy and ridiculous that is. Now, I don't know who's the department chair of finance at Howard now. I have no idea. Maybe they have a Black person now. I hope that they do. But I remember just thinking, am I the crazy one? Like, this don't make no sense. Why do I know how to talk to Black men. I am one. So this is what you're dealing with. So when you're looking for the beacons of Black power and hope for the Black community, don't go looking at some of these HBCUs. I'm not talking about the students. I mean, some of them are trying. They're trying to learn. They're trying to figure things out. But they deliberately block the information that would actually be most empowering and liberating for these people. Dr. Claude Anderson, one of the greatest economic minds of the 20th century, lives about 10 miles away from Howard University, and never once have they ever invited him on campus to give a speech. That right there tells you that these are not your power sources. This is not your base of strength. This is not your beacon of hope. These institutions are good for producing more Black employees, which I think is fine. And they probably are producing some entrepreneurs. And I'm not in any way trying to diss them or make fun of them or anything like that. But my Lord Jesus, if you really want to understand the keys to freedom and power, you're going to have to leave that institution to truly learn that, because your institution has no power. Because one of the fundamental rules of power is at least the ability to pay your own damn bills. If you can't pay your bills without your so-called adversary writing a check to you, then I can't even respect that. Let me keep going. So he says federal government funds that were historically earmarked for Black colleges are now diluted and shared with white colleges that claim at least 20% Hispanic student enrollment. The private funds donated to the College Fund, United Negro College Fund, which were once exclusively directed to assist Black students, are now integrated and available to all minority students. However, education funds that were set aside for Jewish, Asian, American Indian, and Hispanic students have never opened up to needy Black students. Black leadership has not explained to Black America. I don't think there's any Black leadership, to be honest with you, except maybe in spaces like this. I mean, I think we can lead ourselves. I really do. I think intelligent Black people, we are our own Black leadership. I'm one of your leaders, but I'd prefer to be one of your teachers and one of your advisors. I want you to be empowered to lead yourself. That's what I really want. Black leadership has not explained to Black America why education funds for this nation's most marginalized student population were integrated to include this nation's more advantaged groups. Therefore, Blacks need to recapture historical Black colleges for a number of reasons. The first reason is that Black colleges were invaluable assets. They should not be given away just so Blacks could become guests in integrated colleges and universities. Second, since the material conditions have changed very little since the inception of Black colleges, clearly the role and responsibility originally envisioned for Black colleges has not been achieved. Third, predominantly white colleges and universities are either not interested in or capable of preparing Black graduates to meet the needs of Black America. Boom! Kaboom. Let me stop right there. Not capable or not interested in preparing Black college graduates to meet the needs of Black America. That is one of the secrets. That's one of the keys. Your community is in shambles because that's what happens when something is neglected. If you neglect your health and don't go to the doctor and don't eat right and don't exercise, what's going to happen to your body? What's going to happen if you don't brush your teeth, you don't wash your butt, you're eating corn chips and hog mogs all day long and you don't exercise at all? What's going to happen to your body? It's going to fall apart because you've neglected it. My office, I'm messy, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really messy, and I don't clean my office very often because I'm always doing stuff. I neglect cleaning my office. What do you think my office ends up looking like after a while? Somebody tell me. My wife could tell you. I got somebody. We get the maids to come in. She makes me let the maids come in. Well, what happened? Because what happens when I neglect my office? When I don't give any attention to cleaning it up? It gets dirty. It gets funky. There's books and crap everywhere. There's trash all over the place. So the reason your community has fallen apart is because it's been neglected. Now, similar to my office, who's responsible for cleaning my office? Me. I'm not. I'm going to fess up. I neglect that responsibility. I'm not doing my job. Right. So as a result, my office ends up being a mess. Well, your community is the same as my office. Your community is broken, falling apart, filled with violence, poverty everywhere, trauma all over the place, busted up, broken families, no wealth, no nothing. And it's a lot of it is because it's been neglected. Who's been neglecting the Black community? You have been. We have been. Well, why have we neglected it? Well, because we've been distracted. We've been distracted because we have been trained since birth to put all of our energy into pouring into white businesses, not Black ones. We work our butts off for white people. We want that fancy job. We want that promotion. We put our energy into building property values in white neighborhoods because we dying to go live in the suburbs around white folks. That's what we're trained to do. That's what we were taught. We're not raising property values in white neighborhoods, so there's no demand for the property. We put our energy into other communities, and so other people do well. Other communities do well. Well, why is that? Well, it's because sorry, my nose is itching. Why is that? Well, because we have been trained to put all of our time and energy into making other people successful and comfortable. The Black community would do much better. Imagine if every Black child. I don't know why my nose is itching. Imagine if every Black child that went to an HBCU or a white university was told since from birth that your number one goal in life should be to pour into your community. What if that happened? Imagine that. Imagine if every Black child, just like as an indoctrination process, as a rite of passage, it's just part of cultural training, was taught that if you ain't doing it for the Black community, then you ain't doing nothing. The Black community by itself would soar like an eagle, and we wouldn't need white allies in order to do it. And here's the thing: this has been done. The Jews do this. The Jewish community, they won't let you forget um, what it means to be Jewish. They ain't gonna let you just run off and go and serve other people and then act like you don't know where you came from. They don't let you do that. We let people do that. We have rappers and entertainers and athletes that'll go put $1 million in a stripper thong, and we think that's cool because they flexing on Instagram. We'll let them go buy European products, and we don't say nothing about it, right? Because we think that that's all a wonderful thing. We'll let them go and hire a whole team around them that is filled with a bunch of non-black people who are basically milking them for money. Accountants white, your lawyers white, all your managers are white, and all the people around you are just sucking on a little teat. Like they all just milking you like a cow, taking all your damn money. And then you want to come back to the black community when you get broke. You want to come to the black community when you done lost your endorsement deals. You want to come back to the black community when white folks don't want you no more. No, we don't want you now. Now you're just a broke, raggedy drug addict with 18 babies, mamas. What do we want with you? Go back to those other folks. Go back to those people that wanted you when you were hot, when you had all the bacon and you were the man. We don't want you now. And that's what's going on. That's what happens. People get successful and they want to disconnect. No differently from the way all those athletes would like get really rich and then they go marry a white woman. Like that was so weird to me. you know, Black women took care of you since you were a baby. Like you owe them something, don't you? Nobody ever taught you that you have any sense of obligation. In fact, I bet you. What if I'm gonna do a test right quick. This is a test. Okay. Let me I'm gonna Google search something that can maybe help us and educate us. Okay. I'm gonna Google search economic principles of the Jewish community. Let's see what comes up. Let's see what Google pulls up, shall we? Okay. Let me see here. Let's see if I can find like some rules. Nah, that's not good. Three principal characteristics: the economic development of the Jewish people, foundations of Jewish Uri. I'm looking for something that tells me economic principles of Judaism. Let me see Judaism. Let me see here. Let me try this. Economic principles of Judaism. I hope I can spell Judaism correctly. Okay. Well, one thing they say is the central principle of Jewish economic philosophy is the divine origin of wealth. All wealth belongs to God, and the man is the one who manages it. In fact, man himself is a creator, which through decent work and innovation is strengthening, protecting. Okay, blah blah blah. Okay, that's good. But I want to see the rules. I want to see like the rules of the culture, because there's one guy that has a great YouTube channel where he explains. Here we go. Let me see here. So they talk about private property. Which is adjusted and regulated in terms of social considerations. It must serve the public interest. That's interesting. They limited government, wealth, and charity. Let's see, regarding issues like charity or income redistribution, by making a Jewish analysis of wealth and poverty, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs points out that poverty is evil because it is no one should impoverish himself to relieve the poverty of others. He claims that the best charity is helping the poor rise from poverty to independence and work out of welfare dependency. When social responsibility is placed on the government, the empathy for the poor is diminished or replaced by the sufficiency of paying taxes with the lack of citizens' personal involvement. So basically, it sounds to me like they don't want a whole community full of welfare recipients. But, then again, I'm sure there's some Jewish people on welfare. Let me see here. Okay, they believe in free markets. That's interesting. Free markets. What else? I'm going to find a list. I'm going to find a list of basic principles. I was really intrigued when the guy was talking about community and having a group of people around you that are cheering you on. I really think that that's an awesome thing. Here we go. Elements of modern capitalism are inconsistent with basic Jewish values. Let's see. While Jewish values are epitomized in the visions of prophets, capitalist values are the dreams of prophets. Okay. You know what? No, I'm not going to read this anymore. I'm trying to find something. I want to find like a set of rules. I can't find the rules. So let me find them for next time. And I'm going to bring them in, because what I really think is, as Black people, not to say we should copy anybody else. I don't think we should copy anybody, but there's some basic ideas that I think that in your families, you may want to incorporate these ideas, and you repeat these ideas repeatedly to your children so that they have a culture that's built around wealth creation, wealth preservation, and wealth distribution. Proper wealth distribution. Proper wealth distribution basically means passing the ball to your teammates. It means making sure that when you're out here, making it rain or spending money or making an investment, you're thinking about how you target where that money goes. So, like in football, if I throw the ball down the field, I'm looking for my wide receiver that's on my team that's wearing my uniform. I don't throw the ball to the defense. Right? And so a lot of times as black people, we're trained. They tell us, we say, well, how do you play football? And they say, oh, when you get the ball as a quarterback, you got to give it to the defensive back. And we do that, and we don't understand why the other team has so many more points than we do. Well, because you've been taught wrong. You've been taught incredibly wrong. And actually, just so you know, I just finished a book on this topic. I'm actually going to do a little. We're actually putting together a tour of the book. I'm going to actually go around the country, do some lectures on this. And the book is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. If you want to get a copy now on Amazon, it's available on Amazon. If you go to my website at boycewatkins.com, you can find it there. And basically, the thinking behind the book was to say, what if we had, a few simple basic rules that shaped the way we view family economics? Because one of the things that black people don't understand, or many of us don't understand, many of us are not trained on, is that you were really born wealthy. Like, you were born with a lot of wealth. You just can't see it because you think that wealth is related to money. Some wealth is related to money, but there's also wealth. There's also what they might call social capital. There's also wealth in simply coming together. Literally, these are real theories. This is not me just trying to be nice to you. These are true, like, actual economic theories. And so if you're able to see all the wealth around you, then you're able to say, okay, you know what? We have a shortage of money, but here are the ways that we're wealthy. How do we take what we have and turn that into actual wealth? Your labor is wealth. Dr. Claude Anderson, when he wrote Black Labor, White Wealth, his fundamental argument is that you can't build wealth without labor. So black labor led to white wealth. They wanted you to work for them because you working for them made them rich. So if you had no wealth to give, then how in the hell did they get wealthy from your activities? Because your labor is wealth. So when you're raising your kids and your kids grow up knowing that one day they're going to have to commit labor to some particular task, why not talk to them about where that labor is going to go? Because where they put their labor is where they're putting their wealth. So just understand that white America gets economically powerful partly because you make them powerful. It is their control over you that allows them to become as rich as they are. All right, so let me keep going here. Let's see here. All right, next, let's read. We're reading Powernomics, page 112. You can get a copy of Powernomics.com. This is Dr. Claude Anderson's book. These are his ideas, and I'm just expanding on them a little bit, elaborating. The loss of black colleges is a monument to the continued effectiveness of the slave trading practice of the 16th century, known as the doctrine of unequal exchange. As discussed in Black Labor, White Wealth, this doctrine developed around the practice of giving African chiefs valueless beads and old firearms in exchange for highly valuable diamonds, gold, and black slaves. Something similar happened with black colleges. We gave up our black colleges, brightest professors, students, and best athletes, clearly valuable assets, in exchange for the social process of integration, which is not even a tangible asset and has questionable value. I mean, what does integration give you? Integration basically allows you to mingle with white people, and that's it. Like, you can live near them, you can go to their schools, you can shop at their businesses, you can work for their companies. That only has value if you really just think white people are wonderful, right? And I mean, think about this. There's nothing inherently valuable about the ability to necessarily integrate. Now, if you're talking about trade and fair exchange, where, look, I own something, you own something, we'll do business. That's a different kind of integration that I think can actually be beneficial. But when you're talking about, like, hey, we need you to shut down the Negro leagues so that all your best baseball players can come and play with the Yankees or whatever, that's not a fair exchange. You're losing. You're losing not just your best athletes that are worth millions and millions of dollars, but you're losing the entire business ecosystem that existed around the Negro Leagues. Like, it is just incredibly baffling that we can have all these athletes with $300 million contracts that don't even have the thinking to develop their own sports league. That is so weird. We have a lot of the economic version of 7-foot midgets. And that is the craziest thing in the world. There are actually black. There are some black-owned sports leagues that were started with people that don't have hardly any money. The people that started the Negro Leagues didn't have that kind of money. But thinking as an owner, or as a person that can manifest a business concept, doesn't require you to have money. It requires you to have a little bit of skill, or at least find people that have the skill, some vision, maybe some discipline and a willingness to sacrifice. You can't tell me that Colin Kaepernick and Jay-Z and their 10 richest black friends, can't get together and create a sports league that instantly has millions of viewers tomorrow and is instantly making tens of millions of dollars right away. You can't tell me they can't do that. So the question that you must ask yourself is, why haven't they done that? There's a lot of reasons, but a lot of it has to do with a lack of discipline. They don't want to wait for the money. They'd rather just go sign with a white company and get that $100 million check today, as opposed to actually building something that's going to be worth tens of billions of dollars 20 years down the road. Number two, you have to question whether your celebrities truly care about the black community. Many celebrities are allowed to just completely forget about black people. They're not expected to contribute anything. The low self-esteem of the black community is a real problem, where we will let somebody get rich right in front of us and get rich off of the brand that we gave them and the culture that we gave them, and literally be expected to give almost nothing back, to give maybe like a $50,000 donation to the boys club. And we think that's okay. We think they're really doing something good. I think skill is important. It's not to say that they don't have the skill, or that they necessarily need to have the skill. It's that they don't have people around them that have the skill. Can you imagine if you had, 10 of the richest athletes in the NBA that reached out and said, okay, we pulled together $250 million because we want to create a profitable entity that represents a black-owned sports league. So what we're going to do is we want to go to the black community, and we want to get the best and brightest of all the economic thinkers that can help us form this league and put this thing together. Do you think that they could get that done? Do you think that that would succeed? Give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no. If they brought together all the best and brightest black people, a board of maybe 10 super smart black people, accountants and attorneys and people, maybe somebody like me or whatever, right? And literally said, here's the money, do what you got to do, just make sure that we get a return on our investment. It's easy. It's not hard to do. It's not hard to do. So part of, I think, what happens in the community that we got to kind of fix is, a lot of the money goes to people that are the most distracted, and some of them are just not in a headspace to even be able to see a vision like that. They can't even see it. Some of them are trying to see it. And I've seen that. I've met with, some artists and athletes and stuff. And I'm not saying that they're all a bunch of dummies. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that, if you look over in the tech space, for example, one good thing that is happening for white folks is that they have like really super smart white people that are worth like $200 billion. So they're really trying to do really amazing things, like go to Mars, or cure death so people can live to be like 500 years old. And, or Jeff Bezos, his wife, Mackenzie, has, $50 billion or whatever she's got. And she's literally going around and giving millions of dollars to different causes, because she literally probably makes about $10 million a day or more, just from just sitting there, like literally doing nothing. She's literally getting probably $10 million a day, literally just from the interest that's being earned on her capital base. I really want to see that with us or with our community. So what's going to eventually occur, my dream is, one day you're going to have black men and women at the highest levels of the economic food chain that are going to have a powernomics mindset, and not necessarily have to be smart enough to know how to create this vast economic vision that creates thousands of jobs, but they're smart enough to know what they don't know. They're smart enough to go get other people that can implement that vision. It's easy to do. It's not hard. So let me keep going. All right, Powernomics, page 113, powernomics.com. That's Dr. Claude Anderson's website. I encourage you to get a copy of the book. So he says, the loss of black colleges is a monument to the effectiveness of slave trading, known as the doctrine of unequal exchange. Let me jump forward. By the late 1960s, Black America was trading off its hard education resources, both physical and financial, for social privileges. We are the only quote-unquote minority who chose to do so. Jews participate in various interdenominational activities, but they do not turn over Jewish schools, such as Brandeis University, just to participate or get along. Catholics also participated in interdenominational religious groupings, but they did not relinquish control of Notre Dame. Women and American Indians have socially integrated, but they did not turn over their colleges. Apparently, the doctrine of unequal exchange is primarily practiced on Black people. Black America needs its historical colleges to prepare its young people to become economically and politically independent and competitive. They could provide agricultural extensions services, technical business assistance, and continuing education programs in targeted Black communities and industries. Black farmers and landowners still need to be in the position to convert their land into productive income streams. Black people still need the resources farmers produce, and farmers need access to the markets that exist in urban areas. Black colleges can help devise a new distribution system that would link farmers and the food they produce to the communities that need it. First in Black communities, then later into white communities. No matter how many dot-com businesses spring up, people will always need to eat food. Black colleges should function as research institutions and data centers for guiding Black economic revitalization, reparations, and political leadership. They must again become a place where our scholars are able to do research. We will need them to do research on any number of issues, including political independence of Black people, and answer research questions such as how do we best revitalize urban land and property? How do we rebuild industries? Black colleges should put our best scholarly minds to work on the question of the best way to organize a reparations movement and to develop a formula to calculate benefits. How much are Black people entitled to? What are the justifications? They should be teaching Black students to take up intelligent political roles based on a clear understanding of our historical challenges and predicament, to develop public policies and accountability systems to help all Blacks. This is what Dr. Anderson is saying. These are not my words. To complete the circle of information, Black colleges could establish advisory boards as a mechanism for input from businesses, political, and community leaders. This would link them with national intellectual resources. The purpose of these advisory boards would be to identify trends and industry changes that suggest new directions in academic preparation to lead Black colleges into the future. They should also have a role in preparing students to take positions in Black vertical industries, Chapter 6, Powernomics, and establishing a complementary vocational technical apprenticeship program that will provide jobs and business opportunities. Information from such boards should give Black colleges and students valuable lead time to prepare for the future. Whew. I like what he said about vocations. I really think we independently must reform our assessment of the vocations and what they mean, because you got too many damn kids graduating from high school and college without a skill in the world. We need people that can do vocations. We need people that can fix things. We need plumbers. We need the carpenters. We need the electricians. We need that. We really, really need more of that. I really think that we have to have our own conversations in those areas, because we got away from that. There was something about going to college and getting that job in the 1960s and 70s that shifted us away from the process of obtaining real skill. I have had skill-based opportunities and job offers that I've laid out there where I can't find a young Black man or Black woman to do that job. I can't. There's stuff where I've had jobs that I've had done that paid tens of thousands of dollars, and I could not find a Black person to do that job. And so I would encourage all of us to really rethink that. And I'm going to think about that too. I've had some people reach out about that, and I want to see if I can help with that. All right. Education reform number 8, adopt a Black school. Across America, billboards and road signs urge us to adopt this highway or that endangered animal. It is now time to post similar signs urging the adoption of our endangered urban Black schools. We need an Adopt a Black School program that links all segments of our society with targeted Black schools. Urban school boards could establish and coordinate the involvement of various kinds of community school committees, advisory boards, and financial sponsors for school programs. These high-profile groups could bring the resources to the schools. For instance, business advisory board and financial sponsors such as chambers of commerce or other business organizations could help design the content of high school vocational, technical, and apprenticeship programs in neglected schools. A combined academic and vocational program could help raise the academic standards, increase student attendance, reduce discipline problems, develop vocational skills, lift students' self-esteem, and offer them recognition for their accomplishments. Churches, social fraternities, and sororities and civic organizations could adopt a black school. They could also establish and support programs that would serve as a conduit for bringing in additional financial and personal resources into the schools. These groups could meet regularly with either the school boards or the local school administrators to discuss their progress and needs. So, I think that when you talk about adopting a black school, one thing that I've done with my wife is we find independent black-owned schools that need funding, and in fact, when we talk about reparations and things like that, one thing I would love to see is great schools like Freedom Home Academy International, or the school being run by King Randall down in Georgia. I think it's Albany, Georgia, where he's located. I would like to see these schools get the money that they need to educate hundreds, if not thousands, of young people. I did a visit with Freedom Home Academy International that's run by Marcus Klein, and those kids are light years ahead of the kids in the Chicago public schools. I spoke 2 or 3 times, I think a couple of times, at the Muhammad University of Islam, run by the Nation of Islam, that those young people are more educated than most college students. They were 13 years old, asking questions that would normally be asked by a graduate student. So the reality here is this: um, the black educational mystery has been solved. There is no mystery. There is no, we talk about, well, what's it going to take to educate black kids? It's how do we make schools better? What's going on with schools? The mystery solved. Your kids aren't being educated because the system's not designed to educate them. The goal is not to make black children competitive in these schools. That's not the goal. The goal is to make them good citizens that integrate into a society that's going to exploit them for all their wealth and all their labor. That's what the goal is. There are schools where the goal is different. The goal is to make yourself an empowered, informed, critical thinker that's going to be beneficial to the black community, where they're achieving their goals. These schools are out there. So what I would encourage you to do is, when you see these schools, make a donation. Send your child. I don't know, make some sort of financial investment in the institutions that are going to drive your community, where you believe that the results are being obtained. We must do this. We must do this. This is a function of a term that I use called economic maturity. Economic maturity means that you understand that there's a cost to be the boss. That if you can't pay your own bills, then you can't walk around here talking about you free or you a grown ass man. I couldn't say I was a grown ass man in my daddy's house when I wasn't paying my own bills. So you are expecting to be free and independent, but at the same time, you're asking white people to cover the cost of your freedom and your independence. So some of the schools that I love are Freedom Home Academy International in Chicago. King Randall has a school. It was called the X School for Boys. Now it's called something else. I can't remember what it's called. He's educating these boys, getting them ready for life, teaching them stuff like how to change a tire and how to shoot a gun, the kinds of skills that a lot of us can relate to. And there are some other schools out there, Muhammad University of Islam. Those are the ones that just kind of come to mind, because those are the schools that I personally adopted. These are the schools that I really want to support in whatever way that I can. So I encourage you to find these independent black-owned schools that are out there. You've got your educators out there. So ultimately we have to sort of change our thinking on all this. The Black Business School exists. I mean, we're real. We have real PhDs. We have real attorneys. We have real black business people. We've had a couple billionaires come through here that have given advice and things like that. Real estate agents, all kinds of stuff. So, so there are black-owned institutions out there that are solving the problem. And the stronger we make our institutions, the more we can achieve the goal. So get your kids thinking in terms of institution building. I believe that an independent thinking black person should go into the world, almost seeing the world almost like the Wild West. If you think about the Wild West, when the settlers went west, there were no jobs. There were no fast food restaurants. There were no schools and institutions there. They had to, anything they wanted to see, they had to go build it. They had to go create whatever reality they wanted to live in. So we're going to have to do the same thing. We have to create our reality. Stop looking for institutions to attach yourself to and start seeing yourselves as the creators of those institutions. And then we make those institutions stronger. In a generation from now, you've got independent entities that can kind of do their own thing. Right now, you don't really have that. That's why you have black men on TV with $100 million in the bank having to issue formal apologies when they don't even know what they did wrong. Well, because they don't run the institution. So therefore, the institution has all the control and power. Power and control is something that you plan for. It's not something you're going to get by accident. The system's not designed to give that to black people. We have to think outside that box. We also have to stop apologizing for that. People aren't going to like it. People are going to get uncomfortable with it, and that's okay. It's not something to be offended by. Like, the more uncomfortable they get, the more I know I'm doing my job, because a lot of people are going to be very uncomfortable with the idea that they can't exploit black people the way they used to. But that day is coming to an end, and my goal is to help change that. That's why I do Powernomics training on Wednesdays, because I don't really care about, there's this debate going on about teaching critical race theory in public schools. And I'm like, why do we care what white women are teaching our kids in school when we can teach our kids ourselves? The internet allows us to reach, I can reach every household on earth that has a Wi-Fi connection from this channel. This is free every Wednesday. We're reading Powernomics word for word every Wednesday. You can join for free. Why do you need the public school system to teach that? Why do I have to fight to get this building to get this book into the school when I can open up the book, get online, and start reading? You think my PhD isn't real? You don't think I'm a real professor? No, my PhD is every bit as good as that white guy at that university. It's just my institution is over here. His institution is over there. I don't mess with him. He don't mess with me. I'm actually okay with that. And I can tell you this too. The more freedom you actually are able to obtain, the more independence that you have, the less time you'll spend being mad at white people and frustrated with white people. I know that, I get it. Racism sucks. It hurts your feelings and makes you mad and all that. I get all that. But it doesn't bother me that much most of the time, because there's not a white man that controls my life. There's not a white man I have to ask permission from in order to talk to you. There's nobody, that I'm not waiting on somebody to come through and give me and my family what they need. That just isn't my life anymore, because I plan for that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I really want you to plan for that. And maybe you're not where you want to be right now, but I want you to really think about all your economic vulnerabilities, all the things that stress you out and frustrate you. And then I want you to also ask, if you got kids, I want you to ask yourself, do I want this for my children? And if the answer is no, that's where the long-term game plan comes into play. That's where the $5 a day plan at BoyceWatkins.com, that's where it is. That's where the $5 a day investment plan comes into play, so that you can position your kids where they are off the grid, out of the system, and able to function independently. This requires a whole shift in our thinking. You're not going to get this from the public school system, but you can get it here, and there's other places you can get it as well. All right, so I'm going to head on out for tonight. I hope this was a good session. I hope we learned something tonight. By the way, if you want to get the copies of all the lectures, we've probably done about 200 something lectures from Powernomics and other books over the last 2 years. If you want to get a copy of all of them, because we record everything we do, you can actually go to drboycebookclub.com. That's drboycebookclub.com. Use the code word Dr. Boyce. You get 20% off, and you can have everything for life, all the recordings, all that's loaded in there. Secondly, if you want to join us for tomorrow, Thursday night, we're going to get to the nitty gritty. I'm going to train you on stock options and how to add stock options to your portfolio, how to invest in stock options. If you'd like to join us, just go to BoyceWatkins.com. There's a link right there. You can join us, and you have lifetime access to my stock options mini class that I put together for you guys. It's a really good class. And don't forget, in the Black Business School, we have great customer support people. If you're not happy with anything or something doesn't work for you, you can always get a full refund. So there's no risk to you at all. And those of you who are part of the school, we appreciate you. We're also developing something really cool. We actually have a crypto program for children. So that's going to be released in the next couple of weeks. So be on the lookout for that. That's part of our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program. One of the things that we're able to do better than anybody else on earth is we are training Black children to be economic champions at the highest levels. We are literally preparing them so that in the next 10 to 15 years, these kids are going to be running $1 million, billion-dollar companies, because our kids are going to be educated better and earlier than their kids. I don't believe on any planet that our goal is to be equal to anybody. I don't believe on any planet that we need white people to do this for us. I don't believe in any planet that there's anything stopping you from being more economically prepared than the Jews, than Asian people, than Hispanic people, than everybody else. You can be the best in the world at this. I understand this because I've taught people from those other communities. And I'm telling you with every bone in my body that if you start your child on economics when they're young, they are going to obliterate the competition. But what we have to do is we have to make sure our kids are as good at economics as they are at basketball, football, rapping, and twerking. Do all that after you learn your economics. After you figure out how to make your money, you can twerk all day. I don't care about that. But at the end of the day, we have talent, we have skill, we have ability, we have free time, we have energy, we have all these things that we can do. We got to apply it to something that's going to make us strong. Have an economic plan. I can tell you every day I walk around and my PhD, I told my mama, I was sitting with my mama not too long ago, and I said, Mama, you know what? We were talking about everything. I was briefing her on Kyrie Irving and what's going on with him and Kanye West and the weird conversations Kanye and I have had all week and everything else. And I said to my mother, I said, I think that the best thing that I ever did in my life was to get a PhD in finance. I didn't realize it at the time. I thought it was just something I could get that would help me like get a better job at the time. I said because it gives me like I can see things that a lot of people maybe can't see. And I understand how our money controls us and how to avoid a lot of these economic traps that they set for us. And so I thought about it and I said, God, I would love it if we had a lot of our kids that gain that like a very high level of economic sight and economic vision. Because if you are the first to see the money, then you're going to be the first one to get the money. Again, shout out to I don't have anything against the Jewish community. Their kids get the money because they can see the money. They sit down with you. You don't think there's any money anywhere. Like you're thinking that everybody's broke, and they're like, oh, there's $1 million right over there. And then they like, here, just sign this contract, right? And you sign it because you're thinking, well, who cares? There's not any money being made. They already see the money in the back of the room, and because if your economic vision is not developed yet, you're not going to see it until after they have it, and then you walk around and you say you were exploited. That's what happens. Look at Megan Thee Stallion, the rapper. That's what happened with her. She signed a contract. Somebody made a bunch of money, and she got mad about it. Oh, you cheated me. You lied to me. You tricked me. They didn't really trick you. They just had better economic vision than you did. Your vision was blinded by the fame. You wanted to be a well-known rapper. That's what you wanted to do. You weren't thinking about the economic chess match that was happening because that's not where your consciousness was. So levels of economic consciousness determine whether you can win the game. So you got to shape your kids' economic consciousness and intelligence early so that by the time they get older, they're able to play the game at the highest levels. All right. So that's my thought for today. If you want to see any of this stuff, feel free to go to boycewatkins.com. My website has a lot of stuff. If you want to join us tomorrow night for the options training, that's what we're going to be doing for 2 weeks on Thursday nights. And I will see you guys next week. And sorry that the email didn't go out. I'll make sure I send something out next week as a reminder. And you guys have a good night. And it was real. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you benefited. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.